Alright, we're back for the next pugilism video. I told you that I would go back over the next stances, and also I'm going to introduce the shaping hands, and then I want to talk a little bit about liver punches. I already made a video about liver punches, but this is a specific kind of discussion. So in the previous discussion, I think it was like video 2 maybe, we did orthodox, southpaw, and a karateka stance. And if you remember, the karateka stance is kind of like this, right? It's not this kind of junk. Speaking of which, there was these guys. There's a video I came across, and he said that a guy used his Muay Thai side kick catch. That is not a thing, and I'll admit I got a little triggered. I just can't stand people out there making videos and they don't know anything. This guy's a book. So a side kick catch can be done by anybody. All you have to do is create enough space. When they throw that kick, you sink down low, and when it reaches the end of its term, basically the end of its distance of power, you catch it. You can catch it either direction. If you catch it one way, you open them up and their groin's more open. You catch them the other way, you turn it the other way, and they land on the floor. So I don't know. But here, when we talk about the Muay Thai stance, it's not like some kind of special thing. What I just mean is that it's typically up. It's up high, like this. Why? Because they don't want to get kicked in the head. Because in Muay Thai, they kick a lot of things, and they have really hard shins. Also, elbows are really devastating, and they're totally illegal in kickboxing. So you have to have a really good guard up here. That's more important. They assume that you should have worked on your core and that your ribs and everything can take a hit here. The problem with the stance that I have personally with the Muay Thai kick is it's very open for a shoot. Now you have to get past the knees and elbow, but pretty much if you can fake high, you can go in low really fast. So now, from our perspective, the reason it's useful is that you can actually do some good boxing from up here, where you're coming up from real high. Or you can pretend that you're high, and then you can go low really fast. Okay? And then you can combine that with a little bit of kung fu, where you're going low, and you're actually going high. Either from down here, and it's going high, or you can go low, and then come back up high again. But the Muay Thai stance that we're talking about, we're not talking about necessarily on the toes in this case, because we're not kickboxing. It's just that it's nice and high, and nice and open. I don't favor this stance, but I do occasionally get in a mood around the bag, and I practice this because I want that Muay Thai jab coming from up high to be just as strong as if it was coming from down here. So how do you work? The only way to do it is to get used to the structure from this high shoulder position. That's going to leave you very open and vulnerable here, but it does have its advantage, especially if you're taller than the other person. Drunken. All right, so I'm going to post a link to a video. He's my favorite Western boxer who does kind of a drunken style. And what it means, we're still rolling, right? Okay. What it means is that he's always moving and changing everything. So he's doing all this, and the guy's swinging over top, and he's going under, he's going here, and then he'll go into a floating route and nail you a couple times. He'll be moving backwards, forwards. You don't know what he's doing. And the reason it works so well is that these guys, remember, they train and they train and they train and they train for competition. They're doing the same series of combos. Every one of them, they're practicing orthodox style. Even when they're doing southpaw, it's all orthodox style. So they're punching, 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 punching like that. And they have the same series of moves. So what he got used to was controlling the timing. In Chinese drunken boxing, there's also the aspect of the spirit. You actually have to play the part. Well, let's take all that away and just talk about the mechanics. When I have the bag, when I'm working with it, I'm just kind of like kind of a little light stagger. We'll call it Russian drunk, okay? So we're kind of like this, and then when we pop it, it just pops straight like that, right? And you even lean in. I'll take and I'll put my head into the bag like this, and I want to be able to punch from here. Right? Real tight. Everything's real tight, but it's kind of like you don't know which way you're leaning backwards or you're leaning forwards. And that's good because then you can box really dirty, because you can be here and tied up, and then you can bang this guy in the head and hit here. Right? But it's kind of a stagger like this, but then a lot of force coming out all of a sudden. there's a tightness to it that suddenly expresses itself. But it still requires a control of the timing. Remember in our hierarchy that distance is number one, and timing and angle are next. So if you can control the timing, it's almost as good as controlling the distance. But it's definitely one of those things like, if you control timing, it's very hard for anyone to beat you. It's as if you control the territory. And controlling the territory, according to the art of war, is the number one thing you can do. Of course, the number one action you can take is to balk the enemy's plans and to anticipate them. All right, now, Shaping Hands is a training system I developed that's centered around the Gung Fu stance, the orthodox, aggressive street fighting stance from Gung Fu, which looks like this. Okay? Now, the whole point of it is that there's a triangle of energy aimed at the person. It's an aggressive stance, so like if we're moving across the floor, right, if we start, already I have to own him. If I don't have him in very short order, I'm leaving myself open for anything. Let's say he even retreats, right? So we go, I have to be switching all the time. You see, and I'm working him towards this thing. I'm doing that subconsciously, by the way. I didn't pre-plan that. But I'm aiming him to when I hit this, his head goes right into that corner. And that's just a subconscious thing. And it's a mode, it's a mentality you get in. As for the actual shaping hands themselves, you've got the nose, the throat, and the guts, and the center of energy here down below the belly button. So here, 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 and here. So we stick to the core because that's what matters. It doesn't mean, if he's got his guard up here, that I can't shift it over here and drill him here. Of course you can, right? And I can pull here and then go straight up here. I can switch to an upper jab, right? I can switch to a jack jaw. Doesn't really matter. The Shaping Hands, you can load up anything. Now, the reason I prefer it over the old orthodox style is that it's, speaking of the shoot is going to rely on a person being tall. So a lot of boxers, because they don't have to use their legs a lot, they are up high. So when I have this lower stance that's forward angled, using the toes a lot, it's very difficult for him to get the shoot and get both legs. He might be able to get one leg, but he might pay for it at the same time. Could be an elbow, could be this elbow, could be this knee. He's going to pay for it more than likely. So it's a little bit dissuasive. Also, and he could tell you, when I start chasing and there's an intention, that intention changes his biology, how he reacts to the situation. It automatically puts him into a prey mode, and he has to work extraordinarily hard to overcome that. I basically want kind of the reverse of a Pac-Man situation. I want the V, that's me, going into him, and then the Pac-Man is now he's feeling vulnerable and pushed backwards. So the opposite of how the game Pac-Man goes, but the same basic diagram. Now, I wanted to mention, speaking of baiting people into liver punches. Okay, in the previous video when I talked about liver punches, this is a while back. What was it, like 6 months, 8 months, something like that?
Oh, yeah, it was.
It was a while ago. I don't remember how long. I was talking about the shovel hook. Okay, that's one way to do it. But there is another way. So let's say that you have a guy who's up top, orthodox kind of guy, and you're battling here, and he starts swinging real high. You get used to coming low, and when you get down here, hold up. When he swings real high, and if you can time it right and go low, you can duck him if you want. You turn this, and you hit here, and when you hit, don't do like most people and hit straight. Even if you're at an angle, don't just hit straight. Okay? Actually do the rotational cross to where it puts a little torque. And the reason is because of the shape of the ribs. And it goes in and around. Now, if you're hitting the solar plexus, I don't recommend going low at first. I recommend after he swings, you come back. And then if you can catch here, that's fine. If you can't, you wait till he pulls it back. And then you go in full front stance like that. Now, you're going to be vulnerable, so make sure you hit it. Right? Otherwise, you're going to have to pull back. He's bleeding somehow. Okay. What was one thing I was thinking about? I'm trying to remember what the thing I wanted to discuss was. I guess I'll have to wait for the next video because I have forgotten the last thing I was going to discuss. you have any questions about the thing that we were discussing? In the future video, either the next one or the one after, I will actually do some spacing and talk about some of the sparring. Oh yes, I remember. It was all about blocking. I'll do a longer video on breaking blocks, but let's say that he's got a good block going. Okay, now one thing I could try and do is go around it. All right, but if he does a pretty good block, it's going to be difficult, right? What I recommend is actually going through the block. So there's two ways to do it. One is, if he's got this kind of style, I can actually punch the block with the intention of making his own hand hit him. Or I can actually go into this shoulder and mess with the whole shoulder from that structure. So I'm here, and I just punch like that. And the other way is, when I do this hook, when I go through, pull it in, and then even if he has a nice tight block here, it's going to go right past. So I rotate like that. And then when I come in, I make sure to go between the hands. If it's again, one of these and it's forward, you can slip between by keeping your hand vertical. So that's, again, from shaping hands. So I'm moving here like that real quick. But even more, I think, famous and more useful is the upper jab. And what you do for an upper jab is you get him going low, and then you get him going high, and then you come up, okay? Which isn't too hard. And you can actually do it in a step. So you can go down, up like that. So you can fake. So you're going down, up, or straight like that. And again, I like to keep my structures nicely. That's from Xing Yi. If anybody out there is familiar with Xing Yi Chuan, Xing Yi likes to keep it nice and tight. Well, the styles I prefer do. There are some people that don't, you know. But I prefer to keep it really tight because it provides an extra line. You know, because if I'm jabbing here, he might be throwing the haymaker here. So I want to have something. You know, I might have to like get tight while I'm doing it. And again, this is perfectly fine. You don't have to be from here at single distance. You could do this from half distance. Any questions? All right, so we'll do more of an unblocking video in the future, and we'll also do some spacing. We'll throw some gloves on Wade here and beat each other a little bit. Thank you very much. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time.